So one of the things I just want to get us to slow down a minute and think about some of this stuff because I think that it's really deeply important, right? The way in which we have to engage with these kinds of conversations, right? This by any means necessary, right? And I'm not saying I disagree with these statements, so I don't want anybody to hear that. I'm just putting into context the level of stress, the level of expectation, and the level of trauma that goes into what it means for us to protect ourselves and for us to protect our families. And for some of us, we feel the responsibility to protect our communities. And I don't think that we take enough time as Black men to like hold each other in that. One of the things that I started to recognize in myself is that I have anxiety walking around all the time. Like I'm always on this heightened alert. I'm always looking around. I'm always watching my back and like looking to see if anybody's, sneaking up on me, or I got to pay attention to the neighborhood that I'm in because, I don't want to get into any kind of confrontation or any kind of trouble. If I'm driving around in Massachusetts and and I make the wrong turn because, Siri's leading me down some, bogus path, I can find myself in a neighborhood and literally people just see me driving around in the neighborhood and they call the police on me, right? And I've had this happen while I've been in living in my own, in the own city I'm living in Taunton. We've had police officers pull us over. Just because they didn't think we belonged in the neighborhood that was our own neighborhood, right? And so just taking the moment just to sit in that and to feel the rage that comes along with that, the anger that comes along with that. Yeah, Brother Bowie.
So, Brother Will, I think I see where you're going. As far as New Orleans is such a gumbo, literally, it's such mixed up of so many ethnicities down here to where we have no choice but to coexist and intermingle on a regular basis or whatnot. Now, there are certain groups of people who like to stay to themselves. And for the most part, where those areas are in the city, and not necessarily saying that you're not welcome there, but you just know that, okay, this area of the city is predominantly this ethnicity, or this area of the city is predominantly this ethnicity or whatnot. So if I'm driving in somewhere that they don't look like me or whatnot, it's not necessarily a definite thing, or the chances aren't heightened that I'm going to get pulled over or stopped because of that matter. You'd have more chance of getting stopped in a neighborhood that you do look like you belong in, and pull you over for something to happen in that aspect or whatnot. I can attest to right now, I live in Holly Grove. So Holly Grove is predominantly Black. I can guarantee you 90%. Post Katrina, you've seen more like Latinos move in, and as of maybe 2 years ago, Caucasian, and it's gentrified a lot. Like, I can look outside our front door right now, and there is more police activity because of the people that are moving to our neighborhood now, vice versa. So.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, right? Because it also brings this level of context to the struggle of what it means to be a Black man, right? And how that struggle looks different depending upon where you're at, and so there's like all these like these nuances that I think you all are just painting a beautiful picture of what it means to be Black and what it means to be Black in our context in this moment, when it seems like particularly Black men's lives, but I don't want to exclude all the other Black folks' lives that are experiencing this as well. I just want to highlight that we're talking about Black men with each other, that there is some kind of a violent attack that is happening to us right now. I want to check in with y'all about time real quick. It's 8:55. I wanted to see if y'all had maybe till 9:15. Could folks? Oh, y'all are.
Oh,
I'm in Massachusetts, so it's 7:55. Cause y'all do 8:15.
Yeah, no, we good, man. I'm good.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, all right, and y'all are doing okay. You're enjoying the time and everything. We all right. All right.
Yeah.
So I wanted to add another question to the mix, and Brother OT, I wanted to hear from you a little bit. So a part of this conversation, we've been talking about just the nuance of like fear and the lack thereof in ourselves, or the anxiety that we do feel, where we're getting pulled over, where we're getting hassled, all these things that make up who it means to be, or what it means to be a Black man, and our different contexts and the different ways in which we present in the world. Now there's this aspect of like what it means to be like a man of God in relationship to the trauma and the violence that is related to being a Black man. There's this quote that I like to, so Howard Thurman, well-known theologian, talks a lot about oppression and its relationship to faith. And there's this question that gets posed in one of his writings that is really about, he asks a question: what does it mean, or what does your faith have to say about people whose backs are up against a wall? All right, what does your faith have to say about people whose backs are up against a wall? And one of the things that I think about in our context is, you can see there are a lot of folks that are talking about racism, Black violence, Black male violence, and are like defending a lot of what is happening. And a lot of them look like, a lot of them are claiming Christianity as being the thing that they're backing right now, right? And I'm not saying that's the predominant. I'm not saying that it's a small isolation of people. What we know is that there is a narrative out there that says that if you're doing what's right, then you have no problem. You have no reason to be afraid. There's all these different kinds of narratives that go out there. And so, Brother OT, I just want you to jump in for a quick second. What does your faith have to say about the condition that Black men are in our context right now?
Oh man, that's not an easy question to answer, but I'll give it the best I got. Being a man of faith, you should always feel, number one, that we are protected by God, right? Like we are protected by God's, favor. That's what we're taught. We're taught that, that we are the chosen, people of God. We are protected by God's favor, and that throughout trials, no matter what trials we are faced with, there always is a way to overcome. It's difficult having that teaching being taught to you, and then having the exact opposite reaction happen when you look at when you look at just the actual facts of what's happening, in our country, as far as what it means to be Black in America. You look at, I think that what frustrates me as a man of faith, or as a Black man, period, is that two things: that we, when we start having these conversations about, this is what we don't like about being Black in America, and this needs to change, and we're being targeted, it always ends up just coming off as, here go the Black people complaining again. Here they go. We gave them civil rights. First off, we gave them the equal water fountain. We gave them the, they could ride on the bus. They could, I'm sorry, we abolished slavery. You know what I'm saying? Then we gave them, we gave them, separate but equal. And then, and then we gave them, what was affirmative action? That's their favorite one. That's the favorite. Yeah, then we gave them affirmative action. What more? Then we gave them Obama. What more do they want? Right? All of our problems should have been solved with Obama. From from that side of the fence. But if you ask any white person, ask them, hey, if you feel like things are equal and there's no problems, would you just like happen to just want to be black? Just, I don't know, for a weekend? You know, just ask them. Just like, nobody wants to change. Nobody wants to swap with us because they know that there's injustice happening. Like you know it's an injustice, but because it's not their problem, so they see that it's not their problem. They don't feel like, and in their mind, they're justified by saying, "Oh, it's not me doing it." You know, it's the other white people. You know, it's not. So this is what I say as a man of how it ties into the Christianity part. If you are, first off, black people, I love the fact that we having this conversation, and we need to talk about things like this more. But more importantly, we need to be more active in our communities trying to make a difference. Number two is we can't solve this problem. This is a problem that white people have to solve. Now, it's gonna take, I saw a video and it was talking about use your white voice. And I thought it was very profound. And it was a white lady talking about how she speaks out to injustices in America or all over the world. Whenever she sees injustice, she speaks about it on social media, and she gets a lot of hate mail from racist white people about her stance. And I think, you know, it's not going to take us. I mean, look, I appreciate everybody who stood and fought. I appreciate our parents, ancestors, you know, Malcolm X, Dr. King, Medgar Evers, everybody, you know. But until white people talk to other white people, and until white Christian leaders talk to other white people in their congregations and say, hey guys, what we see happening in the black community affects us just as well, because we don't want to be represented by these people, you know. And so we need to like strip take the mask off and stop like passing the buck. Oh, well, it's not us doing it. It's not me doing it. It's the other white people. It's the Ku Klux Klan, or it's the Aryan Nation, or whoever. You see what I'm saying? So I just think that we black men of faith, it's almost like number one, we just told to just like blindly believe that it's gonna get better. And then number two, we're not the group that's doing the harm to ourselves. We just have to just figure out how to best protect ourselves in the situation in which we are given. And you know, everything, and it's just blatantly obvious when injustice happens against us, we have to make a big deal about it. We got to huff and puff. We got to march. We got to run 2.26 miles. Why? Like, why am I running? Like, that doesn't do anything for anybody. Like, you know, that's what the lady said. She was like, I know all you white people gonna go out there, you're gonna run and you're gonna feel great. You know, she was like, but you're only making yourself feel better. How about talking to other people that look like you and having real conversations about what's happening in this country? Because the only way it's going to change is when white people get on the same page and say, hey, this is a problem that we have to fix in our country if we all supposed to be equal, if all lives matter.
Right.
Yeah. I'll go ahead, Aaron.
I'm glad. You know what? And I got into it with somebody on Facebook about this because I said, bro, I'm not running. Like, you know, everybody was doing the 2.26, but I said, I ain't running jack. And it wasn't no disrespect, you know, to Mr. Aubrey. It wasn't no disrespect to his family or nothing like that. But, I mean, if we just look over the last 10 years, Trayvon died, you know, middle of July, cats marching with hoodies on in New Orleans. Marching with hoodies for Trayvon in July. You know what I'm saying? You know, everybody was wearing the I Can't Breathe shirts, you know. So I get the show of symbolism, but at the same time, the show of symbolism isn't creating any change. The white people that see this, they don't say, oh man, 500,000 Negroes for better 500,000 black folks than ran 2.5 miles. Maybe we should change the era of our ways.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, God, you know what? They mean business this time. Nah. I just don't think that it works like that. And we have all these brilliant minds. We have all these, people who are legitimately fighting for change. And to me, the marching, the protesting, I think it has its place at some point in time. But I don't think it brings the same energy that it had with Dr. King and them. I just don't. I don't feel like it does. And I think that in our generation, it amazes me that we are privy to so much knowledge and we got so many people who are woke and can't still be screaming, but I didn't know. But how? You could tell me every racist event that happened since 1619, since the first slave was bought here in Jamestown. You can tell me all of that. Oh, racist. Cool. The problem is people want to sit, and I think to a degree social media has made it comfortable for people to be activists, so to say. And so they're not doing the groundwork like our grandparents were, or some of our parents were. So cats is comfortable saying, I run with Aubrey, hashtag. So it makes you feel good. In the same way white people want to feel good, black people want to feel good because it's threatening to us. We dealing with it all the time and we want to feel good too. But the problem is the comfort that white people enjoy in their feel good moments, they still have a position of power that we don't. They still have a position of knowledge that we're privy to the knowledge, but we're not necessarily obtaining it either. And so I think for me, I just want to see our people, whether it be churches, whether it be community groups or whatever, I want to see us be proactive instead of saying, oh, another black man got killed. Now let's go research the Georgia open carry laws. Now everybody want to carry guns after Aubrey got shot. But nobody knew the Georgia open carry laws. Nobody was talking about it before. So now that puts you in a position of reaction. And if you like me, I play chess. When I got you reacting to whatever I do, I got you. Mm-hmm. Checkmate is on the way, baby. You moving how I tell you to move. And so we could talk racist and racism all day, but as long as we're reacting to what racists are doing, and from a black standpoint, because I agree with what you said, OT, about white people having to indeed wake themselves up. But from a us standpoint, if we don't get proactive in what we do, then we're gonna be going through this the rest of our lifetime.
Yeah, Brother Aaron, one of the things that you're bringing to my mind is there's a book that I read by Paulo Freire. It's called Pedagogy of the Oppressed. A really great book if you all ever want to take a look at a revolutionary who has a faith background, thinking about what does it mean to actually bring about liberation for people. He talks about how that the oppressor actually doesn't have the capacity to release or liberate the oppressed because they don't have the lens. They don't have the lens of the oppressed. That the actual power of liberation for both the oppressed and the oppressor sits in the hands of the oppressed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I think that's it's just really interesting to think about what does it mean for the oppressed to get a vision of what liberation looks like and to start to act into that through your language around being more proactive.
Right.
Brother Cloud, I see you off mute, so I'm assuming you want to say something. Jump on in.
No, I mean they just stopped making noise upstairs. I wasn't really speaking. Okay. You know, I was just ready just in case. You know what I'm saying? Just in case I had to. I was like, let me jump in.
So so I think that like a part of the thing that I think we have to start getting into, and Sister Rosie is giving me some prompts because, our Minister Rosie, excuse me, she's got me. She's kind of keep me on top. There's a way in which we have to sit in some things as Black men that I think are really important. There is a way in which our country has created a constant set of terror. And it's like actually being understated that we're in a constant state of terror. That's why, that's why we carry weapons. That's why some of us, are nervous. Like when I go outside, I'm thinking to myself, am I going to come home today? My wife, Sakura, she's thinking about, is William going to come home today? Or is this the day that she's going to get this, dumb phone call that somebody, was afraid and, pulled a gun and shot me for no reason, for jogging or for whatever, for breathing, for walking around, whatever it is, right? And that like creates this sense of terror, but that there's also a way in which the media plays these pieces out and these stories out that make us afraid of each other, right? So now I'm afraid of the police are afraid of me, white folks over here are afraid of me walking through their neighborhood, but I'm actually petrified of walking through their neighborhood too because I don't want to die. And it creates this common sense of terror. And the language that Minister Rosie uses is that like racism equals terrorism. And if we were to actually sit in that and relate to that, especially right-wing Christians particularly, we're able to sit in, because we like right-wing Christians particularly, they're like really gung-ho about terrorism. We got to do something about this terrorism, right? And the axis of evil and all those different kinds of things. What if they thought about racism in the same kind of context? Yeah. Right?
The thing is, man, somebody has to play the bad guy, in this great American story, somebody has to play the bad guy. And they deemed us, because they want to be us. So it's like, man, I want to be those guys so bad. Let me just, let my insecurities flow over myself and just be like, okay, I want to be that guy so much, I'm going to make him not want to be him so I can be him.
Yeah.
Once you're me, what do you do?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah.
So I mean that's kind of like how I look at it, how it seems to me, my personal perspective on it. It's like, OT, you got a question?
Has anybody thought about the fact that just of the nonsense, like just the illogical thinking, the irrationality, the unfathomability?
There we go.
Them the big words I use on the paper.
Yeah. Has anybody thought about this? Just think about this for a second. If you are a racist, right-wing Christian, right? Which means your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ your Lord and Savior is Jesus Christ, right? Who was not European.
Uh-huh.
Like, I just pause. He was not a white man at all. Point blank, period. You talk about Middle Eastern people, okay?
It's not about facts, bro. It's about good story.
Yeah,
it's always about a good story.
And right, yeah, and this is the person who you use as your Bible. You know what I'm saying? You read this book right here and tell you everything that you need. What I'm saying is, it just makes no sense. How can you believe one and not the other? How can you believe that you are the superior race and your Jesus was for you but he not from where you from, bro.
At all.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't understand that. Like, you know what I'm saying? You burning crosses. Like, I don't get it. Like, it's just weird to me. Like, so I don't know if anybody, am I the only person ever thought about this?
No.
Okay.
But it's easy when they were, well, here in this country, when they were the predominant figures, and so they could paint a lily white Jesus.
They weren't even predominant. They were aggressive in the beginning. They were very aggressive.
Sandals. He had the Corinthian 12s.
Brad,
You know,
Brad Pitt Jesus.
that's easy. White Jesus, you know,
Brad Pitt.
and when they had, you know, when a lot of our people were adopted into that, it's white Jesus, you know. So I don't think that I don't, man. Look, we could talk about evangelical Christians and
But I think that this is really important, and this is I'm pretty sure Rose is going to like tell me to close it up. So
Come on, Will. You switch backgrounds, huh? I like that.
I know, you know, I'm just trying to, you know, what I'm saying, just trying to get y'all a panorama view, you know.
Yeah, I see that.
So I think this is really important because this is something that we have to lean into if we're actually going to get free. The way in which church has been constructed since the Romans has been consistently constructed to actually aid the empire, whatever that empire is, their ability to be able to rule over the masses of people. Our Christianity, the Christianity that we have, that we hold so dear to, we as Black folks have to have a come to Jesus moment, right? Around some of the ways in which we relate to our Creator, some of the ways in which we relate to our Creator's Son, some of the ways in which we relate to church as a whole. Now, all of those things have white supremacist like influence in it, and then going further back have imperial influence to it that we, as folks as folks coming from the African diaspora, like have to have a reckoning from. Now, I'm not saying this from the perspective that we need to leave our religion behind. I'm speaking from the perspective of we have a lot of critiques about right-wing Christians, right? And like their analysis of like white Jesus and all these different kinds of things. There is so much of that culture that we have adopted even as Black Christians that there is a reckoning that we have to have if we're going to have a true relationship to the man I call Yeshua, right? Jesus. And so, and I use Yeshua because I talk about him from the perspective of where he came from and what his name was, right? And that the name and these names that we changed was to make it more palatable for the empire, the imperial people of that time, right? You call him Yesu when you want him to be Roman. You call him Jesus when you want him to be British and when you want him to be English, right? You call him the name that you want him to be at the particular time when you want him to change. And we got to have this reckoning in this conversation about like how that plays into racism and how it plays into like our relationship to racism as well. So now that I like said all that, now I'm about to close us out. Because we have to like tie this in a nice, beautiful bow for people because folks are gonna watch this, right?
No, let the editors handle it. Let the editors handle it. We give them all the footage that they need. Let them handle it on the back.
Let them build it. So, I want to take a moment for us to think about limitation as a closing. So, a part of the thing that I see that is like driven throughout Scripture is when the people of God find themselves in a place of deep oppression and depression, there is a loud lamentation that comes from the people. In some cases, it's they tear their clothes and they put on sackcloth and ashes and they mourn. In other cases, they fast, they don't eat, they don't drink for a period of time to show their deep mourning and their deep distress, and they're turning back to God, this crying out to God. And I think that there's something really powerful about in Exodus, chapter 3. It talks about Moses being called by the burning bush, and You know, the creator is inside the burning bush, and he, you know, is speaking to Moses, and he says to Moses that I have heard the cries of my people, I've seen their pain, and I am concerned about them. And so now I'm sending you out to be my spokesperson, to be my liberator. The thing that I think is really interesting is there is something about the cries of God's people that causes God to turn his ear down, to listen and to act. And I just want to know from you all, maybe we'll just take a minute for each person to say, what is, if you have one, what is your limitation for this time? What is the cry out? What is the agonizing question, the thing that you refuse to be comforted by in this moment?
So basically, what's our limit? What's the breaking point for us?
So let me give an example by sharing my own, right?
Yeah.
So the question is, what is your limitation?
Mm-hmm.
Like my deepest limitation right now is that I fear for my son's life every day. My deepest limitation right now is that when I hold my little baby boy who is smiling and is innocent and it's beautiful, he's got his little afro and he is just the happiest, you know, human being that I can imagine. And my limitation is at some point in time, if I'm being smart, if I'm being intelligent, I got to take that innocence away from him and share with him about what the way the world really works. I feel like I'm going to cry out and scream out even right now just thinking about that. That's my deepest limitation right now. And so I'm asking you all to put your limitations before God through this process of thinking about what is that thing? What is that thing that builds up inside you? Yeah, boy, go ahead, brother.
I'm gonna go ahead and start because you already set the segue for how I feel. I feel the exact same way. My son is 12 years old, so he'll be 13 in February, or just made 12 in February. You know, coming to 13. But he is at that pivotal age, pre-teen, and I see so many young males now that don't have their fathers or a father figure or just not even just a male, a positive. Let me detail that. I'll put a filter on that. A positive male role model in their life and the things that they do. And God bless the dead, I had my father for 28 years, but only I'd say maybe 7 of those, maybe 10 of those, I'm like maybe 7 of those that I actually got the conversation as far as reality. I never had that sit down with him to explain to me what were the don'ts, what to look for and what not to look for, how to address certain situations when it came to society and just being in the world. We had more of a I'm the daddy, you're the son type relationship. Do as I say, not as I do, and that's it. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't a friendship relationship. So the scariest thing for me is to leave this earth and not have made an impact in my child's life so that he can grow to be the best man he can be. And also father children and take on hopefully what my grandparents told my father and passed on to me, that I'm trying to pass on to him, so he can continue the legacy, the lineage. You know, I want to be a strong branch on this mighty tree that I come from to bear another branch that can equal in the amount of strength that I have that I'm trying to give to him. So that's my piece.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Who wants to jump in next? I just want to get people as you're ready.
I'll jump in. So I think I hear what you guys are saying too about and if I had a son, um, I would feel the same way. Um, but I mean, I do have two daughters, and I do teach young men day in and day out, and you know, that age you're talking about, Bowie, is a pivotal age, where you gonna pretty much, man, you get to 15 years old, you pretty much done made your choice as far as what side of the track you're gonna be on. And so, my heart goes out to, every young brother that is trying to find himself and figure out what type of man he's gonna be. Um, what type of how he's gonna represent himself to the world. And that if we don't catch him at that ripe age, we risk losing them for a long time or potentially the extent of their life. And my heart goes out to our black people, who did not ask to be put into this situation, but wake up in a reality that is not where the scales are not balanced, where the resources are not equally distributed, and where they have to find the best answer for themselves, for survival, for to make it to the next day, and to find that validation and self-worth, as well as understanding the sense of community. And so it's a hard struggle for our people, because we've gone through so much, we've dealt with so much, we've faced so many obstacles that we obviously continue to face to this day. And sometimes I just look at our people, and sometimes you can see it when you scroll through social media, and you just wave it off and say ignorance, right? And you see, people want to post, just ignorant stuff, fights and negativity and whatever. And we look at it and we say ignorance, but I got a deep pain in my soul, in my heart that goes out to that young brother who's just really lost and just really just like searching for himself or searching for a way, but they don't know no other way because they wasn't taught, or they didn't. Yeah, Cloud. I see what I'm saying. Like they wasn't. My heart go out to brothers like Cloud, like real talk. Like you didn't know no other way. Oh, you had a question. I'm sorry. I thought that was me. Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap mine up, put it in a.
So
I'm sorry, Cloud. It wasn't you. I apologize.
Brother OT, before you jump in, Brother Cloud, I just want to. So there's something that you said, and I just want to like try to get you to maybe ground a little bit more in these little broken boys that you're talking about, the boys that are having these serious issues, right? You're a father of daughters. Mm-hmm. Those daughters are going to encounter those boys,
right?
Or have the possibility of encountering those boys.
But they not. But yeah, you're right.
You know what I'm saying, though?
No, I totally understand.
What's the limitation there? Right? What's the limitation there? What's the feeling there? Because they're going to encounter them. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm glad you said that. So thank you for bringing that to the forefront. I in my classes, I teach my young males about respecting themselves. We talk about this all the time. Sometimes we take a whole class period, we just cut it off at a certain point and just say, hey, look, we get on a conversation of love, respect, and dealing with the opposite sex. And I tell my young men, I see some kids that I teach, especially when they're young and they might be a little athlete and they got the girls chasing them and they think that this is what life is all about, right? And so what they tend to do is they pass themselves around and they're free with their bodies. And they trying to just knock down, slay as many dragons as possible. And I tell them, hey brother, look man, look man, like that seems cool to you now, but number one, you're disrespecting these young ladies because that's somebody. So what if it was your sister? And number two, you disrespecting yourself, which is really number one. You disrespecting yourself. You know, and we teach our young ladies to be respectful. You know, you don't want to, you don't do nothing with nobody before you married and blah, blah, blah. But we teach our young men, just strap it up. Hey, just strap it up, dude. You good. Strap it up. You good. You know, and I just don't sell that prescription. I tell them that you treat yourself with respect because you are the prize.
Yeah. And so brother OT, like the thing that I'm really getting at is what's the limitation there? Right. So like the limitation. What is
the weeping or the sorrow? I had to look it up because
What's the sorrow in that? Right. What's the sorrow in the fact that I got these broken boys?
The fact that they're broken. That's the sorrow. The fact that I even have to do that. Like, first off, these aren't my children. I didn't birth them, but somebody has to step in and teach them the right way because clearly there's nobody in their lives to do it. I don't know if I'm answering your question right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm about to say maybe I don't.
It's not about right or wrong. It's about like what I'm doing is I'm trying to create a sacred space, a tender moment for us to like actually share that there's like some sadness, there's some hurt, there's some anger.
Yeah.
In this conversation, right? And so it was a beautiful answer.
Well, thank you. No, I just want to make sure that I understood. I literally had to look up lamentation. I'm like, okay, lamentation mean, hold up, here you go. The passionate expression of grief or sorrow, weeping.
Yeah.
Correct. So that helped me to answer my question correct. Don't laugh at me, Jonathan.
No, I'm just glad Brother William did his example because that helped me to understand the question. You know what I'm saying? So I just want you to know you wasn't in the boat alone. I was right next to you. I just looked this way like that's all it was. That's all it was.
I got you.
All right, Brother Cloud, jump in. Brother Aaron, you're going to anchor us, all right?
Maybe.
I guess my thought is, I'm just kind of curious as to why, because I heard you say, well, I heard Jonathan say it, and I'm like, why do you guys feel the need to keep the way of the world away from y'all son? Because my mind state is very different. Like, I'm waiting for the moment I can sit down with my daughters and explain to them this is how the world works. And I'm not saying like that as a negative to y'all. I mean, I understand the innocence and all that. But that, to me, having those conversations, I feel like those are the moments that really gonna sit there and be like, okay, these are the moments that gonna connect me with my daughters. You know what I'm saying? I can't wait to have those. You know what I'm saying? Not that we don't connect already, but those moments when they're in their curiosity and they wonder and they want to sit down and come to daddy and be like, Pops, like, I'm baffled by the situation. I mean, I was just curious about that for y'all when y'all said it. I was just like, why keep that away from you? My sorrow moment, man, just something taking away everything I built with my family. I think, you sit there, you put in, I've been married 8 years, man, courting my wife since elementary. You know what I'm saying? 6 years old, I have no idea what's going on in the future, but I know I like this little girl over here while I eat this paste. Years later.
Come on, speak this existence. Let's talk about it.
You know what I'm saying? So that to me is like, that would be the moment that it's like, if something were to come in and just snatch all that away, that's the moment that I'm like, Lord, take me, because I have no idea what to do at this moment. You know what I'm saying? So, that's my.
Yeah.
And I think any husband, any father, any family-oriented person would feel the same way. So, I mean, I don't think that's a surprise, but it's a cliche thing, but it's a real thing.
Yeah, for real, bro.
Heard loud and clear, brother. Thank you for sharing.
Word up.
All right, Brother Aaron.
Man, shoot. You know what? I don't have any children yet, so my perspective is, I guess, I'm the only one here with no kids. So my output is my vision is a little bit different. I mean, I guess mine is for just the community as a whole. And, you know, OT kind of alluded to it, you know, when he was talking about, you know, what he does, talking to his students, his male students, particularly. And that's just kind of like my battle cry. It's just like the Black community as a whole. You know, you talked about Moses a couple times, and he's probably, him and I think Nehemiah are probably like two of my most favorite people in the whole Bible outside of Jesus. But as far as like leaders go, Moses and Nehemiah, and because it was like neither one of them were in the situation that they were trying to deliver people from. Moses wasn't a slave. He was free. He was living good. He was in the palace, chilling. But he heard the cry of the people. And he went up, you know, went up to the mount, did what he had to do. Nehemiah was the same way. You know, he worked for the king. He was, you know, and so he wasn't oppressed, you know, as you would think, you know, as his people were. And so Nehemiah still heard the cries of the people. It made him cry, and it put him in position to go to the king, talk to the king, get the resources needed. And one thing that I always remember, and I think it resonates with me the older I get, is Nehemiah told the people when they were rebuilding the wall of Jerusalem, he said, we're going to rebuild with this hand, and you keep your weapon in this hand. And when you hear the trumpet sound, it's time to fight. So I love Moses and I love Nehemiah because they didn't just hear the cry. They didn't just give a poignant speech. You know, they didn't just, let me stand on the mountaintop and speak with elegance. And no, they heard the cry, they sought out a resource, and then they got active. Yeah. And so my cry is literally for the people who either choose not to get active, whatever that way may be. And I think that as Black people, we all have to find our lane. Everybody ain't meant to carry a gun and stand out, you know, like the Black Panthers. That's not everybody's way. I don't expect everybody to be that. Everybody's not a protester. Everybody's not a scholar. But for people who don't want to find their way and who don't want to get active, and then that just leaves us as a people in that that repetitive cycle of complacency. And here we'll be 30 years later, our children, you know, Bowie's son, your son, you know, maybe my son, your daughters, you know, they'll be having a conversation about the same thing that we're talking about now. Well, if they're still talking about the same stuff that we're talking about now, then what's changed? Yeah. You know, so yeah. That's my lamentation, is just for people who, you know, just complacent, man.
Yeah. So I just want to just hold the fact that we have lamentation, that we have grief, that is a real thing, and that there's different reasons and motivations that like move those things. One of the things I think is really important is that oftentimes in our context, people don't feel like Black men particularly have feelings, y'all, at all. Like our tears don't matter, our hurt doesn't matter, our pain doesn't matter. To just express it out loud, is an act of liberation, and it's also an act of revolution. Yeah. Upon the structures that be. And so I wanted to close this time with an opportunity to act in our liberation and act in our power, act in our freedom.
I appreciate that, man, because I don't mean to cut you, but like that's something that as Black men, everybody grew up different, but you didn't cry, you know, in the house. You didn't, you know, if you was hurt, walk it off, be a man, you know, I'm 4 years old, you know, kneecap, get up, be a man. I don't want to be a man, I want to be 4. You know, so like I think as that's a limitation that, you know, even within our own households, I'm not even going to blame white people for that one, but just, you know, within our own household, that was something that was never, you know, allowed, so to say, you know.
Yep. I hear you. I appreciate you all. We got to end, y'all. We got to end. Minister Rosie over here, like, William, I told you an hour, brother, an hour. But I can't let these brothers go, man. I really.
It's got sunshine. It's dark.
Yeah, I don't know where she is.
She in Montana.
Worry about it. I'm with the Lord.
Where you at? She probably California.
You got to be on
Lock down. Lock it down. But I wanted to thank each one of you for joining this conversation. I think it is going to be so imperative that men of God have a safe space like this to begin to delve into the themes that we're talking about. What is the value? How does God see Black men? How do we see you as Black women? All of those things that really create your identity that happen in the background. I think until we start having conversations on the forefront where you all are in a safe space to be able to say, I am angry that I have to tell my 8-year-old son, be careful. Like, you get to be angry. You get to be confused by the system. It is not normal to be gunned down in the street. It is not okay that your feelings are disregarded. And I just wanted you to know from the perspective of Black women and also the perspective of Marina Mount Moriah Community Church, you as Black men, we need you. We love you. We appreciate you. And we want you to be able to live free and do what God has called you to do. So thank you so much for broaching this topic. And I'm sure after we hear some of the comments, this may very well be a part 2 coming to this, because there's just no way to unpack everything that makes you all who you are. You are amazing. You are, just these lovable, complex creatures.
Clouds.
I'm the host now.
Oh,
I'm the host now.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm sure she's coming back.
Let's keep it going.
Stop telling people his name is Henri. Boy, your name is Henry. Stop
Okay.
trying to add accent marks where they ain't needed.
I got you. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you. Yeah, who want to pick it back up?
Nah, man, I do feel like what she was saying when she was like, it's, I'm angry. That was, see, Brother William, if you'd have just said, why are you angry? I had you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you angry? Yeah, yes, we're definitely angry. I'm gonna tell you what hit me, and I know I'm long-winded, so I'm gonna keep it short. Every time what makes me angry in my soul, every time we get a leader, every time we get somebody that we look up to, whether it's in civil rights, whether that's in entertainment, whether it's in sports, whether in any arena of life where we have a successful Black male role model, they snatch it from us every single time. This person has to either die or they have to get caught up in some type of scandal where they are discredited. You know what I'm saying? Everybody from Bill Cosby. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I ain't gonna lie. People haven't
learned. It's a lot of things that people haven't learned. People have not learned to separate the art from the artist. They haven't learned that. People's work should not necessarily speak for themselves, but it should be a good representation of, something that's in a person's heart. Thanks. You know what I'm saying? We have to stop. I really think we have to stop looking at people and start looking at the substance that somebody would have put out. Like a good example is the Bible. I feel like you should not hardcore take the Bible word for word. It's a great jumping point. There are valuable principles in it. But to sit there and take it, like word for word, because there were some things happening in that time that if we were to continue that now, I don't necessarily think it would go so well in society.
You mean like the
You know,
goats?
back, what's up?
Them having all them wives, boy.
You mean the killing the goats and all that?
I'm like,
I mean,
So
we
Rosie's
kill goats
gonna come
nowadays
back.
anyway.
Yeah,
so-
she gonna come back. She gonna have a fit. She gonna
she,
feel.
Should be all right.
She just text messaged me. She said we can go ahead and end the call. Her computer died, so
Go ahead, end the call.
Ah, well.
He continues.
so she's not coming back. She wants to relay to you all that you are beautiful men, and that this conversation was amazing, and that there very well could be a part 2, and that you are loved and that you are cherished.
Word up.
And we want you to leave loved and feeling cherished as well. So,
Oh yeah,
It was
these my
an
brothers.
honor to
We
be
always
with y'all.
we feel like that.
what'd you say?
I said these my brothers, man. We feel like that. You know what I'm saying? There's never no doubt in that one.
Yeah. Well, it was my honor to be with you all. So thank you so much for the time and the space and the conversation, and just and for me it means a lot because like I said, I'm not around a lot of my my brothers as much anymore. So thank you for it.
Word up.
Hey, man.